talk about the causes of the Texas Revolution and the important people that played major roles in the Texas Revolution. So we're going to kind of do what we did last time. I'm going to hand y'all a guided note sheet. We're going to go through it on the first part of the lecture, go through it together. Then the second part, we're going to do a worksheet, and then we're going to have a quiz. But this time, on the quiz, y'all going to use the guided note sheet and worksheet. But back to the first one, as a class, we got 80%, which that was pretty good. That's what I was hoping that we'd accomplish. So I'm going to pass out the guided note sheet. Just follow along through the PowerPoint like last time. Alrighty, what was the Texas Revolution? The Texas Revolution was a rebellion of the settlers from the United States and Tejanos putting up armed resistance to the centralist government of Mexico. So basically, it was just a rebellion of the settlers. They revolted from the United States and the people in Texas against the centralist government of Mexico. They were tired of Mexico having all the power. And we'll get into the next slide more about it. So going back to the last lecture, y'all remember when the impresarios brought people into this new territory, there was 3 rules the Mexican government wanted you to follow. You had to become a citizen of the country, you had to become Catholic or be Catholic, and you had to be a good person of character. Well, the people they were bringing in, they started to get away from this. They weren't becoming Catholic, they weren't being loyal to Mexico, and their tensions were starting to rise from Mexico. They weren't happy about this. And so in 1829, the Mexican government had outlawed slavery. So this really upset the settlers because the impresarios promised the people coming into this new area that they were going to have land for their slaves, their kids, and their spouses. And when they outlawed this, they had to do the work now. And so that's when they started to break the rules. They weren't letting the slaves go. They were having the slaves keep working. They wanted them to keep growing cotton and keep making money. So this was really starting to make Mexico mad. And Santa Anna, the general and president of Mexico, was starting to send in troops to kind of make sure everyone's following the rules. And also, the settlers didn't want to learn Spanish or follow Mexican laws. So going back to that last slide, they were breaking the rules. They weren't being loyal. They didn't want to know their language. They didn't really want to understand it. And they were just breaking rules. And very few settlers had converted to become Catholic. So as you can see, the Texans were mad, and the Mexico government officials were upset. So you knew things were boiling up and tensions were high and things were about to happen. So in 1829, the Mexican government closed the state to further American immigration. And this is another big thing that Texans were really upset with, was they had to start paying taxes for the first time. And nobody likes paying taxes, and this really upset them, and they were starting to have rumors of breaking away from Mexico. So Santa Anna had to do something quick. He was sending more and more troops to Texas to settle everything down, but when Stephen F. Austin was jailed, the Texans did revolt, and Santa Anna had to lead 6,000 troops to Texas to put down the revolt. So as you can see, there's a bunch of troops into Texas, and we're about to start having battles. Texas is about to fight for their independence. And we're not going to go into the major battles that much, but I will brief on them a little bit. The Battle of Gonzales, it was the first major military battle between the two sides. It kind of got everything started. And then the Battle of the Alamo, I thought, in my opinion, it was a really turning point in the revolution mentally, because basically, if y'all haven't heard about the Alamo, they didn't really stand a chance. They really just fought for pride, really. They had a lot of courage, and they pretty much knew that they were all going to die, but they were going to sacrifice themselves basically for the cause. They did call in reinforcements, but they didn't make it. So William Travis, he was a prideful guy, and we'll talk about him more in a second, but he just basically gave his life for the cause, and that's how everyone who was fighting for the cause saw that as a hero, and they were going to do whatever they could to become independent after that. So I think that was a big turning point. And then the Battle of San Jacinto, it was the last battle of the Texas Revolution. It was where Sam Houston commanded an army and met Santa Anna and surprise attacked them and eventually beat them pretty quick. Like I said, we'll talk more about that in a second, but that's when they captured Santa Anna and signed over for Texas to become independent. So y'all take a few minutes to look over that, and then we'll go over it together.
Sir, could you go back to the number 3?
I think it's like the 4th or 3rd slide. Yeah, right there. Alright, so we'll just go down the road. Just read just 1, 2.
The Texas Revolution was a rebellion of colonists from the United States and colonists, including an armed resistance to the centralist government of Mexico.
3 requirements of Mexican government. 1 was to become Catholic, be the person in premises.
The tensions were rising in Texas. Keep on reading.
Yeah, let's keep on reading.
The Mexican government outlawed slavery. The settlers wanted to keep growing cotton so they could keep making money.
Settlers still want to learn Spanish and follow Mexican laws. Very few converted to
Catholicism.
Texans had to start paying taxes. There were rumors that Texans wanted to break away from Mexico and become free. Battle of Alamo was the turning point of the war. The Battle of San
Jacinto.
Jacinto was the final battle of Texas independence.
Alright, now the second part will be over the important roles people played during the Texas Revolution. Their roles are there, you just have to put the person's name, and I'll leave the slides up so y'all can spell them, because some of them are kinda hard. Alrighty, just for a second, just look at these names. There should be some you're familiar with. There was a few that I didn't really know I had to research before I was gonna talk to y'all. You have George Childress, Lorenzo de Zavala, James Fannin, Sam Houston, Antonio de Lopez Santa Anna, Juan Seguin, and William Travis. Any of y'all recognize any of those names? A few of them? Alrighty. Y'all should be familiar with William Travis and Sam Houston and Santa Anna for sure, but we'll start talking about them. The first guy, Lorenzo de Zavala. He was a gifted politician from Mexico, and I thought this was pretty cool. I didn't really know much about this guy. He was closely involved in drafting the Constitution for the first Federal Republic of Mexico in 1824 after it won its independence from Spain. So basically he helped write up the Declaration, or the Constitution for Mexico to become independent and free from Spain. But that's a little overshadowed by what he does next. So this is what he's most known for, was he also helped draft a constitution for Texans to help secure their independence from Mexico. So as you can see, a lot of the Mexican people are going to be really upset about this, and that's why he was exiled by Mexico, and many Mexicans consider Zavala to be a traitor to his homeland for supporting Texas independence. George Childress, I've heard a little bit about him, but the main thing, he was a lawyer, statesman, and author of the Texas Declaration of Independence. He was the primary author of the Texas Declaration of Independence. He had a little help from Lorenzo, but it was mainly him. He was the main dude to get the document all ready to go, and it was approved by the committee on March 2nd of 1836 and was signed the next day. And Childress was then sent after the Texas Revolution, after they had won the battle at San Jacinto, and was sent to the United States to gain recognition of the new Republic of Texas. Y'all got the name? Alright, Juan Seguin. I really like this guy. The more I've read about him and researched, he was basically your do-it-all guy. He was a political and military figure of the Texas Revolution. I mean, he did everything. He helped supply the Texas troops with food, housing. He was always on the move to help bring in reinforcements and resources. And not only did he do that, he also was a recruiter to bring people in to help fight, and also commanded troops for the Texan Army. We'll get a little bit more in with him, with Travis in a second, but I mean, he was a busy guy, and I thought he did a really good job. I've just heard good things about him, and he's kind of known as a traitor too to Mexico, because he was from there, but he really liked the Texans and their cause, and he thought they needed to become independent as well. James Fannin, he was also a big military figure in the Texas Army and leader during the Texas Revolution. What he's known for was when he was outnumbered and surrendered to the Mexican Army forces at the Battle of Toledo Creek, and Colonel Fannin and nearly all his 300 plus men were executed soon afterward at Goliad, under Santa Anna's orders for the rebels to be executed. So with this guy also, another thing was when William Travis was at the Alamo, they had sent one Seguin to go bring in reinforcements, and Seguin went out to Sam Houston telling him, hey, we need people to come and help. And Fannin was supposed to come, but he was a little late, and Sam Houston just said he's not coming. And they didn't even send Seguin back out because they knew it was pretty much a lost cause, that everyone at the Alamo was going to die. So William Travis, he was born in South Carolina, but he dedicated his whole life to Texas. And when he first had heard that Texas and Mexico were having problems, he was the first to come down and join the Texan Army. And like I said, he was, from the orders from Henry Smith, he took command at the Alamo, and that's whenever he had sent Seguin off to bring in reinforcements. And basically, right before the battle, they all knew that it was pretty much too late. They could have ran and maybe tried to run for it, but he was too prideful and he wanted to go out swinging, I guess you could say. And that's why many people idolize him, because he showed so much courage, and he's known as a hero today. On this one, y'all can just put Santa Anna. Y'all don't have to put the whole thing, just know it. Antonio de Lopez Santa Anna, he was first started out as a Mexican politician and general who fought to defend the royalists of New Spain and then for Mexican independence. And after that, he became the president of Mexico, and he's known for leading major attacks on the Texans, most notably at the Alamo, where he sent thousands of soldiers to attack and take over the city. And for 13 days, he ordered the attack, and then finally, he killed 189 Texans. And that also shows, too, that 189 Texans against thousands, that lasted that long. They showed a lot of fight, but eventually it was just too much. And then also, like I said earlier, he also ordered 300 plus prisoners to be killed at Goliad, and then was then captured by Sam Houston. And Sam Houston was going to kill him, but he spared his life as long as he signed for Texas independence. And a lot of people think Santa Anna was a coward for doing that, but it is what it is. He signed it over, and then the new Republic of Texas happened. And then the last guy, Sam Houston, he was a Texan general. He was the commander at the Battle of San Jacinto, and he had gathered over 800 troops. He had volunteers from everywhere in the United States. In this new area, the many free and enslaved African Americans wanted to help out. And he had met Santa Anna at San Jacinto and had a surprise attack on the Mexican army. And the battle was over in 18 minutes. More than half the Mexican army was killed. So just think about that. This class is around 45 minutes, and about half of it, half this class period, half of his army was killed. So it was quick. They captured him. He surrendered, and he was forced to sign a treaty giving Texas its freedom. And Texas was now an independent country in 1836. And just a little extra information. This isn't on the thing. Texas declared itself a Lone Star Republic in 1836. Sam Houston was elected president. And the Americans, they wanted Texas to be a part of the United States. because some people were afraid of Texas becoming a slave state, and others of war with Mexico, and both would eventually happen. So, take some time to finish looking over the Texas Legends worksheet, and then we'll go over that, and then I want you and a partner to go over it for about 5-10 minutes or so. Because I don't want to, if y'all need to use the sheet during the quiz, that's fine, but see if you can do it without it first. So y'all look over it for a second. It's just how, I guess, the Mexican people do it. They have weird names.
Yes, very weird long tensions were rising in the settlers wanted to keep growing, so they could make money. The Battle of the Bonds was the Battle of the
No, it's German.
Sure, yeah, you got about 5 minutes or so.
The third Parliament texted Mexican government. The three requirements, yeah, but when it's 4 years to become good person. No, you didn't.
Well, yeah. If Britain had an accent, we couldn't tell the difference between Jersey and New York, except for when it has to like L or she said they make fun of us people here. Like no, but I mean like I think we'll do that one. You mean like more
Hey, 2 minutes, 2 minutes.
They said flat.
Can you read it again?
Yeah. Yeah, you told me.
Oh, you know what the tax is called? Yeah. Everything's so beautiful. Like, killer sports,
We're gonna go over this this, and then y'all take the quiz. It's a little easier than last time. There's no fill in the blanks.
So you want yours to be directed?
What did you say?
You got it all?
Okay, who's German?
Yeah, couldn't say
Say German.
Alrighty, go back to your seats.
Thank you.
I don't know German.
I've never been to Germany.
Alright,
I
do
ain't
the
lying, I
last
know
one.
some German.
Hey, listen.
Hey, listen.
So you start, we'll just go out of here. Just say the person and then their role.
Lorenza
Zavala.
Zavala.
How do you spell that?
He was a gifted politician who helped draft the Texas Constitution for freedom. He was exiled and known as a traitor to his homeland.
And it's Z-A-V-A-L-A.
Wait, what?
Z-A-V-A-L-A.
Alright, and then I'm reading George.
Yeah.
Alright. George, he was the primary author for the Texas Declaration of Independence. He was sent to the United States for his recognition for Texas independence.
That's George Childress. George Childress. Ron.
Juan.
Seguin. Yeah. That's
He
good.
helped supply food and housing to Texan soldiers. He was a recruiter and always was on the move to help people get reinforcements and resources.
James Spannon. Good.
William Travis, known for defending the island, had great courage and died fighting for Texas independence. He is a hero of many Texas eyes.
Santa Anna, known for leading attacks against Texans. He was Mexico's president in jail. He surrendered and was captured at the Battle of San Jacinto and signed for Texas to become independent.
Sam Houston, who was the Texan commander of the Battle of San Jacinto. He captured Santa Anna and made him sign Texas over to become independent.
Alright, good. So now we'll take the quiz. Y'all can use the guided notes to help y'all, but try at first not to use them, because I think y'all be fine without them. Don't start on it just yet. Alright, just put your name on it. Alright, for the first two questions, it's just true and false. And then 3, 4, and 5 is matching. So, I'm not saying this is the right answer, but just as for number 3, you have A, B, or C to choose from. If you think it's A, you put the A by it, B, C. And then on the back, it's also matching, but you have a matching box down at the bottom. And then whenever you're done, just turn them into me over there. And y'all get started. Just take it over from there. See what I was doing.
Where are you gonna send out to them?
So basically today what you learned was just some of the causes of the Texas Revolution and some of the people that played major roles in them. As you get older, this is kind of what you're going to be learning. It's just going to go more in depth and deeper into it. But that's basically it. I'm going to grade these real quick. I think we have a little bit of time left, and then I'll hurry and pass them back out to y'all. So thank y'all.
We're going to